Craveable Podcast, Episode 1, an introduction.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, and welcome to the Craveable Podcast, where real matters. We're your hosts, Ben and Katie, and this show is brought to you by Fossil Farms. So today, what are we going to talk about, Ben?
We're just going to do, simply as you put it, an introduction to Fossil Farms. Probably a pretty easy topic for us to talk about. I mean, we've been both working here for a long time. I'm coming into my 5th year. You're at 17 years, it feels like, at this point.
Six.
I'll
take 17.
6 is a long time, though. And I think kind of what kept us here is what we're going to talk about today, which is really what Fossil Farms is about and has been about for going on. Are we in the 27th year? 26th year.
Over 26, 26 and counting.
Just had our anniversary. And it's fascinating to me working for a small company like this. And yes, there's going to be a lot of bias on either side of this table today, but for good reason, because they haven't really given up on their values. And I think that's something in this day and age speaks to people like us and our age and demographic also. So it's kind of the perfect fit. I mean, you've been doing it longer than us, so I'm going to let you do our classic spiel. What is Fossil Farms about?
100%. So Fossil Farms, our mission is that we exist to create enduring change in the way that food systems operate. And we are always trying to challenge the status quo of the conventional meat industry. We're a mission-driven company. We're very guided by our principles, as you, Ben, know. And one of the biggest things that we say, our ownership is always saying, we do not want to be the biggest. That's never been our goal. We want to be the best. So, like I said, mission-driven company. Some of those values are really important to us. So, our standards have been focused on these same core principles since 1997 when we started. And that includes our animals. They're all going to be raised outdoor on pasture. There are not going to be any growth hormones, antibiotics, or steroids used ever. They're going to be fed a diet of natural forage when necessary, supplemented with some grain. And those will always be all vegetarian, locally farm raised. And they'll be raised in a way that supports both the well-being of the animal and the sustenance and longevity of the environment. So I know I say this and I have a customer-facing role, as do you, but we stand behind our products 110% along with our service and everything that goes with it. And another one of our real pillars is, why does this all matter to us, to you? The conventional meat industry desperately needs to change. So what's good for profits and efficiency and big ag is never good for the environment. So there's a saying that there's no such thing as cheap meat.
True.
And that's true, because you think you're buying cheap meat, but there's a lot of costs associated with that you don't necessarily think of or see. And we're going to dive into that in some future episodes. But basically, the status quo needs to be challenged and changed for the longevity of both ourselves and our environment. Yeah. And that's our mission in a nutshell.
And it's pretty crazy because we do get into some pretty serious conversations, and we will on this podcast in general. But when we talk about, since we're both in sales, like there's a pitch, like you want to sell the story, but it's kind of more than that, because when Lance Applebaum started Fossil Farms, he had, and we keep using this word for a good reason, it is a mission. There's a lot of passion behind it. Like, I have a roof over my head and everything, but I'm not going to be a millionaire doing this, and I don't ever want to be. There is a mission from Lance to do things the right way. So he set a standard for all natural, because the USDA, they have their own standard for all natural, but we talked about it earlier today. Is that even a standard? I mean, I'm going to literally read it straight from my notes. All natural, according to USDA, by definition, is a product containing no artificial ingredients or added coloring, and it's minimally processed. Cool. That's it. Yeah, you just, what does that mean? Yeah. What does that do for you? Then everything that you consume and I consume is technically all natural, but that's not, a standard that we're going for. And I know you know the spiel better than I do, again, with your experience. But I mean, what's the Fossil Farms all natural standard? It's a pretty long list of things, and it's an ever growing list, because I mean, the industry changes and we change with it. I'll pass that mic along to you again, because it almost drives me crazy about how all natural is pitched in the United States, especially when I heard our standards and then you read this definition. I mean, let's go through the laundry list of what boxes we check.
Yeah. And I think something, I used to manage a store here, and something that, I think most Americans, I think, were conditioned to want organic and everything certified and non-GMO, right? And those things are definitely good, but to the general American consumer, I think the phrase all natural doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
And
They
I
picture
remember
something almost, right?
Well, and I remember when I first started here in my early days, I was working in the store, and, a new customer came in and she said, what's the deal with all your products? And I explained to her, well, everything we do is 100% all natural. And before I could go on, she cut me off and she said, all natural is a bull term.
Right.
Right up in my face. And I was like, well, I understand where you're coming from, but I want you to know that for us, it absolutely is not. It's a really important term, and it means these things. And, because, as you said, the USDA standards are so loose and like not encompassing to anything that we do, basically, it's hard for people to know what it means, because it's so easy for other companies to slap an all natural label on a product and for have that to be exactly what a consumer wants. And I think Fossil Farms has kind of redefined what all natural means.
Oh yeah.
And just kind of segueing a little bit, I know that I've seen over the years, what's really great is that you see Lance and, everyone here who makes decisions and purchases and, finds products, really walk the walk. And, there have been times when we've had access to something, a supply of something or something cheaper, this and that.
Many times, yeah.
And we don't bring it in because it doesn't meet our standards.
Yeah.
And that's,
it's tough for us in sales. You obviously want to make a sale, but we're out of product all the time because something's not hitting our standards. And that's okay. It's okay to have gaps in your supply chain. To us, maybe me just saying this personally, we wouldn't like it as a company, but there are things that come up on natural farms. There's challenges they run into that you wouldn't on a factory farm because they're raised all naturally. They're like, well, you know what? This herd did get sick and we're not introducing subtherapeutic antibiotics. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this entire herd from our program because it doesn't meet the standards. So sorry, you're not getting top round this week. Does that happen with that specific item? No, not really. But that's the case for it, is that you run into a unique set of problems that are unique to our own, and in a good way, because you want the best. And I think that what people tend to forget is at the end of the day, yes, you're hitting some check marks for marketing, for people love organic, like you had mentioned, or people have this idea of what all natural is and they picture a steer in a field, but that's not even usually the case. And at the end of the day, the meat just tastes better. It's so good. It's so incomparable to anything else that you have. I mean, that's where the passion really lies. You can hear it in my voice. I know when you get talking about it, that it gets out of hand in a good way. And then people in the office are chiming in because everything that we do here is so good and so flavorful, and it's good for you. It's good for the planet. We're hitting all those check marks, and you can go home at the end of the day and eat a ribeye and not be like, oh, well, I'm hurting myself, or I'm hurting the planet, or any of those things. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have guilt eating meat at the end of the day. And that's why I'm so glad Fossil Farms exists. Yes, it costs more, but that's the real cost of meat. That's just how it is.
Now, Ben, I want to do a brief segue here. You mentioned the lovely people of Fossil Farms.
Yeah.
I think we should kind of give our listeners a little overview of you and I and how we came to be here. And I know we kind of touched on why this matters to us, but what's your story in a very brief nutshell brought you to Fossil?
In a brief nutshell, what brought me to Fossil was trying to stay within the food service industry and stay working with food and stay kind of within a realm that I understood, because my background was having worked in fast casual restaurants. I mean, I legitimately had worked at Subway at one point. I mean, we've all done some low-end stuff.
Artistry, by the way.
Yeah, I was a sandwich artist, so it's pretty cool to have worked in both art and food service, despite what they tell you. I mean, I did live like a starving artist while I was working there, outside the starving part, eating disgusting meats. But then going from that and loving food and working at an oil and vinegar shop, doing high-end sales on fancier accoutrement, if you will, and then also ended up managing the cheese shop there where we were doing cheese and charcuterie. And that's where I really kind of honed in on both my love of food that I had in my personal life, tying that into my professional life, and knowing I wanted to stay working with food, but I wasn't going to cut it in restaurants. And post-COVID, I think that's even more and more true. We're seeing the glut in the industry for our restaurant partners because it is a tough industry. So I looked for Fossil Farms, and I had a round of 4 interviews with literally everybody who was working here at the time, which is like tripled since then, even in the last 5 years. And it's been, a huge boon for me personally. I wake up every day and I'm not dreading what I'm going into at work. I'm not coming in to have a bad day on purpose or anything like that. I'm genuinely excited to come in. And then when someone calls and reaches out and they want to talk about meat, I'm cutting myself off because I don't want to waste their time all day.
He does it regularly, guys. I swear.
All day.
My little bio is pretty similar to Ben's. I mean, I got my career start after college working at a very high-end restaurant. Hadn't worked in a restaurant before. I was a cook, so I was in the kitchen, on a line. It was blood, sweat, and tears all day. I'll tell you that, quite literally.
I've heard your tales.
Quite literally. And I mean, it was fun. That kind of job is often a love-hate relationship. You have these horrible moments, and then you have these awesome moments, and you love being able to create this amazing thing that you're nourishing people. They love it. That's great. And then there came a time when I kind of thought, wow, this is not a sustainable job for my life. I flash forwarded, like 10, 15 years. And I'm like, oh, mom's not home and it's Christmas Eve. And I'm like, I can't do that.
She's cooking on the line.
Exactly. So, then I loved the place I worked at, and I kind of moved around. I worked for the executive owner, and then I ended up planning weddings and events there. And that was all fine and well. A management company ended up coming in that kind of changed things around a bit too much for my comfort and a lot of my coworkers. And
you're being so polite about it.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I wanted to go. All I knew was that I love food. I've always loved food, and I need to stay in this industry in some way, shape, or form. And, I had a bunch of job interviews, and I remember it actually came down to I was interviewing with Fossil and with this other company that didn't have anything to do with food. It was one of those, I don't want to call it an MLM, but it was one of those, you come in and you're going to work hard, you're going to work long. And it's not easy and it's not for everyone, but if you give us your all, we can guarantee you when you're done with the program, 6 figures, this and that. The guy had a tank of turtles in his office. And I remember coming from that interview and leaving the Fossil interview, I said to myself, wow, this could not feel more wrong. And this could not feel more right. Like, it was just inherent. And then same as you, I had about 3 interviews, and it just clicked, and I knew this was the place for me, and I haven't turned back since. I mean, it's great to work here, and it's so great that everything we mentioned before, working for a company that does what it says and says what it does and does not hide anything or sweep anything
no
under the
BS.
rug.
You have some tough conversations in this building because nobody's lying to each other. They're going to be honest.
Yeah.
And that might be difficult for some people, but I think it kind of like self-ostracizes everybody who doesn't fit the mold for the better. I think it's a really good team right now. But you started in a different role, something that's kind of evolved a lot in the last few years. I mean, you started in the store as... Yeah. Was it the store manager?
It was
Tell
the
me
store
more.
Manager, but
share your tale.
There weren't any employees, so we just managed the store, and our store was actually going through a big renovation at the time. We took out a wall, we added a fresh butcher counter, we built a commercial kitchen in the back where we could make homemade appetizers, entrees, do our own cured bacon, smoked meats. It's evolved so greatly over the years. Our store manager now manages their own catering department.
So crazy.
Full barbecue catering. We cater weddings. It's amazing what it's turned into. And I think it's an awesome development because we are all such passionate foodies. Another reason I wanted to kind of dive into you and I and the staff here is, as you know, as many people might not know, the majority of people who work at Fossil Farms have either been a chef, a cook, or worked in a restaurant before. And I think our cumulative food knowledge experience, if you combine everyone's on staff, is like 300.
Yeah, some absurd number. So people always talk about that.
Yeah,
our number is high because everyone has a few years.
We love food. And even when I hear, I hear you talking to Jen in the back about she doesn't know what to bring home for dinner. And, you're like, oh, the venison 2-bone chops. And she's like, oh, I guess I'll try them. And then the next Monday, she's like,
she loved it.
Those 2-bone chops were amazing. And I'm
They're
like,
so
I
good.
know. And the price point is on the money.
It's one of those things.
Good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
All encompassing.
So yeah, I think, overall it's pretty obvious that Ben and I enjoy what we do. I also love coming into work every day. Every day is a new adventure. You learn something new. You laugh always.
We make it sound more romantic than it is.
No,
At the end of the day, it's still a job. We're very
great.
lucky not to hate it. I want to ask you a question, though, now that we're talking about it. What is one of your favorite memories from our Fossil Farms team or event or anything like that? I know there's a lot of them. I know I have pictures of a ton of them on my phone.
Okay, I've got two, and
Sure.
we have a lot of fun in this office. So that's a very hard question. I've got three.
Okay,
All right,
pick your favorite one. Do all three.
I'm doing all three.
Yeah, go for
so
it.
the one is when the power went out, and we're having trouble getting it back on. And it was in the summer, and it was super hot. So after one day of the power being out, our VP Ben Belcoro purchased everything for a full blown out ice cream sundae party. And we were all, it was like dim in here, and we were grumpy, and we just went into the break room.
So hot.
Full layout, all these different types of ice cream, all these different toppings. I think it was Ben and Jerry's too. He got.
Oh no, we don't cheap out.
No, it's been spared. And so we all just got together, had an ice cream party. That was awesome. Number two is when we had a quote contest, right? Fossil Farms quote contest. I'm sure you guys, you might be familiar with this. And I ended up winning. And so now right on the bullpen is my quote, it has my name there. They joke I'll never be able to leave because I'm on the wall, which is probably true.
Yeah, it's 30 feet long. And it's
quite
quote
large.
for KDF. I literally have a perfect view of it from my desk
Anyway, in
since
case
the day I
anybody's
started.
wondering, it's how Fossil Farms meets the challenges we encounter that make us who we are. Anyway, came up with that myself. And the third, I wrote it myself. And the third is this past company holiday party. I mean, who can forget it? We had dinner, and then we went to bury the hatchet, and I somehow was incredibly good and hit a lot of bullseyes and won a good deal of money off of our generous and wonderful CEO, Lance. And it was great. And I now am known as Katie the Hatchet Flaxenhar, apparently.
That's true.
But
what a moniker.
so, Ben, I want to throw it back to you. And why don't you tell me and our lovely listeners a bit about your history with Fossil and some of your favorite moments and memories?
There are probably a couple. I mean, working at Fossil Farms, I started doing inside sales, and we happen to have a few managers coming in that position over the years. And then you've settled into that role very nicely. And I think we've had a really good thing going for the last couple of years. But it was not easy in the beginning, because when you're coming from, especially for me, like specialty sales and expensive stuff that's direct to consumer, the price doesn't really come up that often, and you don't really have a reference point. I mean, you're selling cheese. What's their alternative? They're going to go to Wegmans. Yeah, great. Okay, that's one alternative. But if you're selling beef, chicken, and pork to chefs, and they're seeing commodity pricing versus what you're selling it at, and you know you have the best product, I think it's challenging for them to see the value. And I got really good at telling people what the value is over the phone in the last 4 or 5 years. And now I'm going to do it on this podcast because they're because I legitimately just love these products. I don't think I can go to a friend's house without bringing something without being asked, because I'm like, we have to have this. And I think that's why one of my favorite memories with Fossil Farms was right before COVID. We had the honor of hosting our what was at the time an annual game dinner at the James Beard Foundation, James Beard House in New York City. And I had a guest chef come in and cook for us on that dinner, and all the other sales reps had a chef come in and also cook. And it was a big collaborative dinner. And if you've never had the pleasure of being at the James Beard House, which is a bit of a rarity for people, so I am very grateful I've gone, it is tiny. It is a very small old New York City brownstone, really small kitchen downstairs, really small dining room upstairs with a little patio. So it's really, really what's the word I'm looking for? I guess homey would be the right word, even though you're there with a bunch of strangers at this event. And at the end of it, having eaten all this great food and everybody's in a great mood, and you're just kind of milling around with the chefs who had done this dinner with you. And when everybody that's not there as a guest is gone, and you're just in the kitchen with everybody who had gone through the meal service, and you're, stepping outside for a cigarette. Let's be honest. I'm going out to have a smoke with the guy who was part of that dinner with us. And you're just basking in a bit of the quiet and the cleanup. and then driving home through New York City and having had a successful event, that sticks out to me so much because that is like the creme de la creme of what we do here at Fossil Farms, like just kicking ass and putting something awesome on the plate. You take a bite and your eyes roll in the back of your head and you know you were a part of that. I mean, that's why we all do it. That is why we all do it in the restaurant industry. I mean, when was you cooked dinner for your boyfriend and when he exclaims to you how great it is, I know that feeling doesn't get old. Right?
Certainly not. Certainly not. So, but that was one.
I don't have 3.
I gave like 7.
I have to go through my photo roll. I mean, I also...
What about the nacho table? That was like a runner-up for me.
Nacho table was awesome. Not my favorite. I like doing the burger bash. I don't think you did one of those with us yet, right? Or you did the one last year?
2 to 3 of them. Yeah.
I remember doing
my
the last couple
of them. I got to make it a little louder.
Well, the reason I say that is because I got second place
Why
3 years in a
tell our
row.
listeners what the burger bash
Number
is?
2. Oh, Burger Bash is coming up in May. Actually, will probably be done before this first episode airs. Burger Bash is when we have our entire staff or whoever wants to participate at Fossil Farms get a random protein in a burger form because we do carry a ton of different burgers. They get 3 burgers that they have to cook. 1 single protein, 3 burgers separately. And they have to come up with the most unique, flavorful burger. And everybody at Fossil Farms ends up voting on that burger. And they get to be crowned Burger King or Queen. Last year, Bianca won, and her burger was amazing.
Bianca was
Doug was... Oh, I'm getting my years mixed up.
But so Fossil Farms provides a ton of different toppings from the basic to the more unique.
Like Chopped almost, where you get a basket of things.
Yeah.
Or more like, like the kitchen and Chopped.
Ton of different toppings. And so we all just have, I think, 2 hours, an hour and a half?
Yeah, I think it was 2 hours last time. We had to extend the time a bit because we want them to come out beautiful, not a sloppy burger.
Just run around like crazy people. And we have, you have the smoker, we got grills, we get the flat top, there's different cooking methods.
We have the break room.
There's different, all types of, so it's very fun, very, a little bit hectic, definitely crazy. But the Burger Bash is very fun every year. And I have not won yet. Not ready to talk about that.
Top 3, baby. Every year. That's all that matters. As long as you're placing. Do I get anything for it? Just bragging rights. But that's okay.
Your own pride.
I want that crown, man. I want that cute little crown. That dollar store crown. I don't know why it entices me so badly. I think it's all
about the protein. I still maintain that, I got screwed out of it with the antelope. But it is random. And,
it's a good burger, but you can't.
It's a great burger.
You're comparing it to a Wagyu truffle burger or like the elk burger's so good. I got the duck burger the first year.
Hey, but you did
and the
good
poultry
with that.
burger, they're good. Don't get the wrong idea. But it's a poultry burger. And
you did good.
I put bacon and mushrooms on it. What are you going to do?
Well,
it was fine.
So anyway, I think, we've done a pretty good job talking about Fossil Farms. I mean, we love it here. Another thing, this is one of my favorite things about Fossil Farms, actually. I can't believe I should mention this. Literally everyone that works here, right? Like everyone that works here is awesome and is not only super good at their jobs, but genuinely, really, truly cares day in and day out about their jobs and about what they do. And I think it's just amazing because it just goes to show it's like, as a company, we say, oh, we say what we do what we say, yada, yada, yada. And then we go ahead and we build literally the best team that could possibly be assembled in every single department of this company, from our drivers to our pick packers, to our store, to our chefs, to our salesmen, to our office staff, to everybody. It's just so awesome at what they do. And we're the Fossil Farms tribe, but like really we're the Fossil Farms family. And
super true.
I've always felt that way.
It's such a cheesy corporate thing. And I really don't feel that way with a lot of companies I worked at. But I mean, at Fossil Farms, it is like a family. It's like your family because it's a little bit dysfunctional. That's the thing. Your family, unless you live your life like in your Christmas photo postcard, which you don't, then Fossil Farms is very much like your family. There are good days. There's mostly good days. There's 90% good days. And then there's bad days. There's days where you and I walk by each other and we're just tiffing and fighting. But that's okay too, because it's like you would do with like your sister or your brother or your mom and dad. I mean, you're just like, you know what? I'm with you all day. You know, I'm in a mood. I'm going to say something. You love me, so you'll ignore it this time. But God forbid I say one more thing. Then you're going to clap back at me super hard. Just like a real family would. There's no holds bar. Like there's a ton of professionalism in the office, but we just have genuine, organic organic conversations with each other, and things get done. Like at the end of the day, when I get stressed out, and I think I've told this to you, I tell myself it's just meat. It's just meat. That's it at the end of the day.
The best meat.
Right. It is the best meat. But like Katie said, everybody on the team actually cares. We all get stressed and anxious when something's going on. Why do we care so much? Somebody's not getting their meat as a consumer and they have a dinner coming up. So it's just me. Can't they just go to the store? No, because I know how I would feel if my dinner got ruined. I would have a conniption if I was doing ossobuco and someone told me I had to go get a roast at the grocery store. Be like, no, I need a bone-in cut, and they don't sell it at ShopRite. You know what I mean? Or like the anxiety I get when I hear one of the web customers has an issue, even though I'm dealing with things on wholesale. I'm like, man, I know how I would feel. There's a level of empathy that we have. And maybe that's just, the industry in general. People seem to care a lot in the restaurant industry and in food service. But it's just amazing to see people stressing for you to actually care, genuinely care,
For sure.
and not just brush it off.
And we get that feedback regularly, people saying, wow, thanks for all your help. You really, you've really gone above and beyond, and we really do all we can anytime. And I don't even necessarily think that that's, tooting our horn. We're so wonderful. I think it's more just that's proof that we care. That's proof, that we love our jobs and we're happy to do them and excited to do them. And that's what we're here for. And we're going to do it to the best of our ability every single day, because that's who we are. That's what makes Fossil Farms so unique.
So true.
Let's do this. Let's give like a brief highlight overview of what we plan on doing with this wild, crazy, and informative podcast that we're starting out on here.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I had in mind when we started talking about this on our end, is that we do have these impassioned conversations, and we're being kind of polite about it because we all have a bit of a potty mouth here. It comes from our work in the kitchens, but we get kind of mad sometimes, and maybe even a little bit sad because of the way things run. I'll talk from my point of view. I absolutely hate the level of consumerism that exists in the United States, let alone globally. I think it really negatively affects all of us. And I get mad about it because there is a right way to do things. There is a way that you can make things equitable. There's a way that you can make things sustainable. There's a way that you can have your cake and eat it too. Is that crazy? It's not. All you have to do is not profit as much, right? And we'll touch on that in the factory farming, in water usage, in sustainability, in finding a way that everybody wins. And the fact that we choose not to do things the right way for no other reason than money boils my blood. And we don't do that here. There's not been an investor dollar at Fossil Farms since the beginning.
Sure.
Lance has done everything out of pocket. Every hit he's taken during the 08-09 recession, every hit he took during COVID, 9/11, Sandy, all of that affects the pockets of Fossil Farms directly. And that's it. No investor money. We're not trying to make money to, help a board of directors get a golden parachute to leave once the business is totally gutted. That will never happen here, thankfully. And that is what I want to talk about, is what the issues exist, the right way to do things in our industry, from rearing animals properly to making sure processing is done properly, to make sure that farms are regenerating the soil that they're using, to have a complete recyclable system. All those things are core to who I am as a person and what Fossil Farms does as a business and part of a pedagogue in this industry. And I legitimately, if you can't hear it, can't wait to open some of these cans of worms.
I just want to let everyone know that it's not all going to be so intense, because we want to have a lot of fun as well. So we're definitely going to talk about all these issues that we've brought up. The good, the bad, the ugly, what's really happening, what you might not know. We do plan on bringing in some guest speakers. We're going to bring in some of our farm partners, some of our processing partners. We're going to delve into different topics. We're probably going to have some episodes that talk about products too that we love and our favorite recipes, which like Ben and I are like jumping at the bit.
Yeah, let's talk about meat.
Cook. And we have our favorite things. But yeah, we're really going to talk about it all. We're going to talk about the industry. We're going to talk about different products. We're going to talk about problems. We're going to talk about solutions. We're going to talk to people that we know, people that we work with, maybe people that you know, and just really give you an idea of what's going on, what we're doing, who we are, what our passions are, and why it matters. And hopefully that'll be super interesting to you guys along the way. So in general, as far as our schedule, this is the intro. We're just warming up, just heating up here. But we're going to be releasing a new episode every other week. So a lot to look forward to there. And, lastly, as a wrap up, I just want to ask you guys to please like and subscribe. It would mean so much to me and my friend Ben here. And the next episode, we're going to try to keep it light. We're going to try to keep it fun. But we are going to be talking about factory farming and sustainable farming. The good, the bad, the ugly will rear its head again. And we'll kind of touch on what's going on in the industry, what we're doing, what you can do, and why it all matters. So please tune back in.